Do you want buyers to fall in love the moment they walk in your home? I'm Laura Bayer, your best friend realtor, and I've staged homes to sell fast even in bad markets. Imagine buyers walking into your home and instantly saying, "This is the one." In this video, I'm going to share 7 secrets to get buyers to say, "This is the one I want." So first, I want to talk about why it's in your benefit to consider staging your home. You see, buyers buy based on emotion. We all make emotional decisions and logical decisions. In order to get people to sign up for a huge payment for 30 years, we've got to create some good emotions for them. And so we want to make the house feel as much as possible like it could be theirs and it's not just still yours. We want buyers to have an emotional connection with your house that spurs them to keep going past the scary emotions of, oh my gosh, I'm buying a house and the payments and the money and the fears and oh my goodness, like we need to create that loving feeling and we need it to last all the way through the negotiation process and all the way until closing. All right, so I'm going to give a bonus at the beginning before we even get into the 7 tips. I think deep cleaning your house is more important than staging. You want to make people feel like you're taking good care of the house. So the first thing I would recommend you do is go to your air conditioner intake and open up the intake, look at the vent, go ahead and replace the vent. Let it be brand new. Make sure the intake vent is clean and looks good. If it needs painting, if it needs replacing, these are very cheap things to do. I highly recommend do that first and then go to your front door, look around and clean around your front door. Having a nice, clean, fresh smelling house is staging tip bonus before we even get to number 1. All right, so tip number 1 is declutter and depersonalize. Remove excess furniture, personal photos, knickknacks. Keep surfaces at least 50% clear. When I'm touring through a home, one thing I will tell people is, especially in a tight space, you want to have at least 18 inches of walk-through space. So think about, people want to go and look through the windows. They want to walk all the way around the room. They want to hit all corners of the room. So walk through your house and see, can you, with 18 inches wide, walk through all the corners of your house to see everything? Can you open the closet doors? Can you access all the windows? Along with decluttering and depersonalizing, one thing I would recommend to consider is, they always say take down personal photos, but I would rank a couple things even above that. I would rank political signs and affiliations above that. And I would say, unless you are so strong about your political stance that you would say you wouldn't want someone with opposing views to buy your house, I would highly recommend not showcasing that. I would consider flags or, certain affiliations. Even with certain things that are religious, there may be things to consider toning down. I know that's a deeply personal, important belief that I completely support. But if there are things that could be distracting, you really want to question that and make everyone feel warm and comfortable at the same time. So when it comes to decluttering and depersonalizing, I always say remove 1/3 of the things you have at least. In the design world, the rule of having 3, like you have a table, you have 3 things or 5 things, odd numbers work really well for the eye. So we like to have the asymmetrical look of an odd number of things on countertop surfaces. So I would keep that in mind. I would also say in the kitchen, like removing appliances. If you're drinking coffee every morning, like you don't want to pull out your coffee pot and then have to put it away. That would be a huge pain. Even I wouldn't say go through that much work to sell your house. But if there are, a rice cooker or something that you don't use every day, consider finding a different home for that to live in while you are marketing your house to get it sold. All right. The second tip is emphasize natural light You can see behind me, I've got my window open and the daylight coming in. I think there are people that either love light and they have a lot of light in their home, and then there are people that they don't have overhead lights, they use lamps, or they just kind of live in the dark. And I am especially talking to you if you're this latter person, because I think you don't realize when the opposite person enters your home, just how dim and dark it is to us, okay? And as a realtor, it also can be very difficult when I'm going through homes that I don't know where the light fixtures are or what light fixture goes where. I would highly recommend opening all windows before showings. I think natural light is so beautiful and so helpful. And so if there's blinds, if there's windows, if there's curtains, go ahead and open it up. Leave it open for showings if you're able to do that where you are. And I would also recommend just turning on all the lights in the house if that's not something that bothers you. We get complaints about realtors doing things like dealing with locking and unlocking the right or wrong door or leaving lights on or something like that. If you're not selling a house that you're away from, if you're selling a house you're living in, then I would highly recommend just being the one to take responsibility for turning all the lights on and turning all the lights off and allowing showings to take place with every light on, and asking agents that are showing it to just leave it that way if there's back-to-back showings. And an additional tip for this point is consider cleaning the windows if they need it. Creating the bright, welcoming atmosphere, especially in a room that's beautiful, like do something extra to light it up or to showcase it. Is there a way to place lights or lamps in a certain way to bring attention to a certain room that you want to show off when a buyer is there? Okay, the third tip is using neutral, timeless colors and beiges, whites, grays. I would say stay on the lighter side of things, but I still think it's beautiful to do accent walls. I know wallpaper is coming back. I wouldn't suggest putting in wallpaper, but if it's something you already love and you already have, I would say don't stress out about it because it is coming back. We're seeing so much molding taking place, and one trend that's very in is where the entire wall and all of the molding, all of the chair railing, all of the anything extra is painted all one color. There's back and forth debate about whether an accent wall is in or out. I'm personally still a fan of them, and I think if there's some extra molding or things to showcase and doing that all one color or maybe a different color, it is wow factors that make houses special. And I still am a fan and do believe that with paint colors you can make a wow factor. Now, having wild, crazy colors in every bedroom, like an orange bedroom, a blue bedroom, I don't think that's a wow factor. I don't think that's going to help you. I do think that's an instance where you could neutralize those rooms. But if you have a dining room, if you have a primary bedroom, if you have an entryway where you want this wow factor, this accent wall, I think that is a beautiful showcase way to go about painting in there. If you or when you are my client, I would give you the blessing of saying, good job, we can leave this, you don't have to change it. All right, just like the fact that upgrading certain rooms will bring you more money, like kitchens and bathrooms, upgrading and staging those same rooms will bring you more money. Finding a way to stage your kitchen, finding a way to stage your bathroom. In the kitchen, I think maybe having a plant, clearing the countertops, having maybe a beautiful tea towel. Consider your hardware, consider your paint, consider your furniture, having a cozy place, having it inviting, maybe even, so they talk about closed and open body language. So I would even say the same can be applied to your seating. So my first career actually was as a hair designer, and there was an interaction I had with a coach to hair designers. So now I'm in real estate coaching, but there was a coach for hair designers that did a presentation. Now I didn't sign up for coaching as a hair designer, but I did get a lot of tips from this person. And one thing that he talked about was when your clients come in and you're smiling at them and we're welcoming, come on back, it's great to see you. and you turn your chair to their direction where they're walking to your chair. I think you could do the same thing with whether it be your breakfast area or your dining room area. Consider taking one chair, pulling it out a little bit, and kind of turning it to the doorway, the walkway in to where they're going to enter. Maybe consider having your placemats set up at your table. So it's inviting. It's like, come have dinner here. And in the bathroom, one cheap thing that I think you can do that I see a lot of people, I cringe at this, is consider buying new towels. Even if it's just a few, even if it's just one set or enough sets for the amount of bathrooms you have. But look at the towels you're going to have hanging, and whether it be your towel that you use all the time and it's going to hang and show while you're showing your house, or it's the hand towels in your bathroom, consider buying a brand new set to showcase. And I would recommend also getting those towels in neutral colors, maybe not white, just in case, that does show dirt, but maybe not be bright green, yellow, crazy blue, wild colors either. If you do have white towels, maybe just have them rolled or showcase to make it look like a refreshing spot in these key rooms. And then to make it specific to you, what is a special room you have in your house? What is the room you love and enjoy the most about your house? And how can you make that really warm and inviting and showcase that to show a buyer that's looking at your home, this is going to be your favorite place in this house. You're going to love it here. What can you do to stage and arrange that room to show it off so that they love it just like you do? All right, your fifth tip is enhance curb appeal. So just like I said, clean your house as your bonus tip. This one, your first tip, is pretty obvious. Mow your grass. Weed your beds if they need to be weeded. Add some pretty plants, add some flowers, paint your front door if it is needing to be painted or re-stained or cleaned. If your exterior needs power washing or cleaning, get that done. There's so much research that can be done where you get these statistics and I'm like, where in the world did they survey? Like, where did the statistics come from? But the fun statistic I have to share with you that I found was 94% of buyers surveyed said that they value a beautiful curb appeal. So it is in your best interest. All right, the sixth staging tip is to create functional spaces. And so if you have rooms that should or could be an office, if you have guest rooms, if you can add rugs or seatings to basement. Also, one thing that I do is if you don't want to stage a room and you aren't using it for anything, maybe for just a small bit of storage, I would actually suggest pull everything out of that room and allow it to be photographed empty. It can be very reasonable to stage an empty room digitally. And since everyone's looking at the photos online, buyers oftentimes will actually remember the room the way it was set up. So they may think you've already moved the things out that were here before, like you're already getting ready to move. And so I think that if you have an idea of what this room could or should be, or what you had idealized when you purchased the house to do there, then you're still able to showcase it. And along with this tip is years ago, prior to COVID, actually, there were a lot of tips about the big transition of baby boomers selling their house to millennials and Gen Z, and pretty soon we're going to have Alpha Gen A coming behind, and the differences in what the generations are going to want. I think considering having the amount of plugins or the things that are needed to update a house, or consider converting a dining room space to an office space if that is what's needed in your house, or to stage it that way. Another thing that is gaining in popularity is needing and having electric charging connections in garages. So that could be additional thing to consider when staging a house. The seventh and last tip, which is my favorite, is adding subtle lifestyle touches. And I actually touched on this a little bit with having a dining room or a breakfast table all set up, but doing things like that, having the plants, having flowers, having candles placed in certain ways, having books, having, maybe an open book or a magazine, really making the house feel warm, inviting, and lived in a way where someone could just walk in. Think about the way a high-end hotel might stage and showcase their space. When you walk into a nice hotel room, it's always clean. There's always a minimal amount of things, but oftentimes they may have menus. They may have things to do in the area. There's things that you could have placed that could help a buyer envision or enjoy the space. A beautiful magazine, a cookbook that's opened in the kitchen, plants, maybe a pool space that has the towels, that has, the floats out, or, picturesque. What can you do to make your house picturesque and enjoyable and make someone want to just not leave, stay there and have a seat and feel at home? Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my tips. I hope that I've given you advice that can help you, whether you already knew a lot of these things or maybe you found some new things to consider. If you are considering selling your house, there's a couple things I'd love for you to do. You can reach out to me for a seller's guide, and that can give you additional ideas. And whether you're in my area or you're in another area of the country, I would love for you to reach out as well. And I can have a conversation with you. I can get you connected to somebody in your area that can give you additional tips. They could do a walkthrough, even if it's a pre-listing, even if it's not a listing appointment, but it's a pre-listing conversation and walkthrough and advice, recommendations for any changes or upgrades you need that could help you in any way. Thank you so much. Reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to make comments. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I get to see you again soon.